Hey everybody, welcome to the Mackey Method podcast. And today we have a special guest, Dr. Keita Joy, who is going to be here talking to us about doing it well, and doing it consistently, among other things, as she has impacting the Orlando community, also those around her. Thank you, Dr. Joy, for being here. That's your last name, right?
No, it's my middle name, actually.
Okay. So what's your first name?
Keita.
Keita Joy.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Keita
and
Joy.
What's your last name, if you don't mind me asking? Duke-Tant.
I have a French last name.
Okay.
That's thanks to my hubby. He's Haitian American. So that I went from Ivy to Duke-Tant.
Hey.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
And being a guest on this podcast. We met probably like a month and a half ago through a colleague of ours, but
who I actually only met maybe about 2 months prior to that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
But same here. I had only known him for about a month or so. I think I've known him since February. So
okay.
But immediately connected. We had a lot of good synergy about what we want to do here in the city of Orlando, and really inspired by some of the things that you are doing in the city, and more inspired by your decision, or your decisions rather, and knowing that you are an educator that kind of took a pivot in your career, and not just in your career, but in your life. And like I was telling you as we were coming in, is a lot of people talk about the beginning of things, like how you got from starting to school, knowing all right, I want to teach kids, to the journey of, where you are now. Like the middle part, nobody likes to talk about.
And the middle is ongoing.
It's always like ever changing,
yes.
And, but last time we got together, I got to hear a little bit about your story. So I want to start off, you were an educator here at OCPS. What made you decide to change or pivot, educating kids to doing what you do now?
Well, shout out to Orange County Public Schools one time on the ones and twos. Crazy thing is, I didn't even think I was going to be an educator. So we could start even from there. Like, really? I have a bachelor's in marketing.
Wait, hold on.
Right. From the Florida State University. Let's go.
Okay, so you got to be careful around that part. Matter of fact, when you met me, I told you I was doing stuff at UF, and
so
you almost beat me.
So I had to intentionally make sure on your podcast that we brought up FSU. I am so petty. I'm here for it. Fair
enough. So marketing.
Yes.
And then you went from marketing to
not finding a marketing job. Okay. That's what happened. And every time I went on a job, I would think it would be marketing, and it was sales. And marketing and sales are two different components of a business. And so my mom is a hustler, and I appreciate that. And she worked for the school board in Miami-Dade.
Okay.
And said, hey, since I'm in a system, let me tell you, in every genre or facet of life, who is so critical. So she's like, hey, I'm in the system. I work for the school board. I can get you fingerprinted, processed, and placed in a school in like 3-4 days, tops.
On a side note, it's funny you said that, because we were just talking about relationships, because you are so busy, and you came here on very short notice because of relationships. Anyway, go ahead.
Right. Facts on facts. And so I'm placed at this school, and she was like, look, this is not your end goal, but at least you can make money, have health insurance, you're staying at my house for free, stack your cheddar, stack your paper. Right. And so long story short, I'm the only child, got into education. I don't have any other siblings. I was never anybody's auntie. Worked at an inner city school in Liberty City in Miami. And it was so hard. It was tough. There were times that I couldn't even brush my teeth because I had so much anxiety from dealing with the kids. They were so unruly because they had a lot of trust issues. Yeah. But I would tell you this, I realized two things about myself from being an educator starting at that moment. One, that I just had this deep love for people, specifically children, but just people in general. Like when people hurt, I hurt. And so being an educator exposed me to this love, this deep-seated love that I had for people that I didn't really realize was there. And then the second part is, I was like, even though I'm so business savvy, I have the gift of teaching.
Wow.
Like, I can teach. And so now, fast forward, getting out of that position and into being a business owner, I can teach anybody though, as a coach, whether, you know, you can be 16 or 66, I can teach. And so being an educator all these years taught me that, but that definitely was not something I wanted to do. I did not go to school for education. Wow. I ain't let the kids like that initially. It was just something to make ends meet, honestly.
Yeah. As you were talking, I remember listening to TD Jakes on a podcast, and he talked about when he was talking to his son, and his son was struggling with what to do or going into one area, and he was telling his son, if you go into this area, it may not be the thing, but it's the thing that leads to the thing. That's so good. It sounds like when you were in school or when you were teaching, it was the thing that led into the thing, which ultimately got you to your purpose. And
that's what grace does. Because to be honest, in the moment, I didn't realize that's what was happening. Yeah. I didn't realize in the moment that was the thing that was leading to the thing to the thing. Yeah. I'm just like, I need money and I'm broke and I need health insurance and I want to go to the dentist. Yeah. So how are we going to make this happen? But on the flip side, sometimes I wonder, what if my mom said, stay with me for free, and you don't stop looking for that marketing job that you really love. Because you think about it full circle, what do I end back at? Coaching, helping people, but also business, because I have such a deep love for business as well.
What do you, if you put as entrepreneurs, you can say you're the accountant. There's so many hats that we wear, but specifically in your business, what do you do? So,
ooh, I love that question. So it's so crazy you said that. Coming in here, this guy with some really cool locks asked me that same thing too. Wow. And so I guess I was prepared for this question.
Hey, there you go.
I make people better. If you could sum everything up that I do as a coach, it's just as a human being, my goal is just to make people better. Okay. Whether that's mentally, spiritually, financially, emotionally, I want to make you better, because when you're better, you make better decisions. Yeah. You make better decisions for yourself, for your family, for your community, and for your employers, right? Yeah. And so you take that into being an executive coach. If I can help people do that, then I'm helping companies make more money, right? And bring in more revenue. But that's what I do. I make you better. Wow. So if you're a leader, athlete, an influencer, whatever your goals are, whatever your passions and desires are, I got you. I'm going to make you better. We're going to get there.
What are some of the tools that you use to help people kind of get better in a sense?
My main tool is my success formula. Okay. And my mind is blown at just how many people are using it. Okay. It blows my mind because initially I used it in my living room, like in my journal, just kind of reflecting on how did I get to where I am as a businesswoman and as a wife, as a woman of God, like this whole journey, the success that I'm seeing, how the hell did I get it? And it just started coming to me, and it was like, do it well and do it consistently. And it was like, that's what I've been doing, staying true to my authentic self, like always figuring out what's my purpose. How can I best use my talents and skills to make the world a better place? Like, that's doing you. And so now I get out there and I help other leaders and athletes and influencers to do the same thing. Wow. How can you do you? And so think about like a company. That's like company objectives and goals. That's doing you. So how can you do that in the best way and the most excellence? How can you do it consistently and be resilient? Right? And you're going to have those barriers to entry. It's going to be hard to get to the finish line. What do you need to do to get there? And so I walk people through my success formula of do it well, and do it consistently. And usually there's an issue going on somewhere. Like the do you could be like, you know what? We need to revisit those goals. Yeah. Them goals are a little shaky, and are your actions aligned with your goals? And if not, what needs to change? Right. And then doing it well, doing things in excellence, and doing it consistently. But that's one of the main success formulas that I bring all my clients through. That just kind of works wonders. And then the crazy thing right now, so many companies and teams need inspiration. They are highly motivated right now. And so a lot of people call on Dr. Joy to give them a dose of joy.
What do you think the lack of motivation or the lack of inspiration comes from? Or why are people not inspired?
Exhausted. So many people are exhausted for different reasons. They are overwhelmed. They are still processing trauma from the pandemic or losing a lost loved one. So even though we outside, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe inside you're not. Like your heart is not ready to be outside. And so you're seeing that. And then you're dealing with, you know, I'm used to being at home for these couple of years during the pandemic. Now I have to go back to work, and I don't really know how to socialize anymore. I don't know what that looks like to connect with other people. So I've just been seeing so many workers who are tired and exhausted and overwhelmed and still full of pain. And I think because the world is moving again, people kind of still can mask those emotions and still kind of just go with the flow. But after a while, we start to see that going with the flow, companies are not productive. And they're like, we got to do something else. Yeah, they're logging on. They're going to Microsoft Teams or clicking on the Zoom meetings, but they can tell that the teams are not gelling together. Yeah, a lot of people are checked out.
It's good that you're bringing that to companies because, you know, I know a lot of companies have decided not to go back full time. You know, I have a friend who, well, in person rather. I have a friend in Chicago who's, they had a 70,000 square foot space that they canceled the lease on because, you know, it doesn't make sense financially for companies. But I don't think that people count up like the interaction that people deal with socially, you know, because, you know, living in isolation can be a challenge and it's traumatic. A lot of people I don't think it's traumatic, but it is traumatic, you know.
And then after a while you get used to operating in a silo. And it's hard to get out there again and connect with other people, and a lot of anxiety comes up, right? Like that social anxiety happens.
That's awesome that you kind of get to change people's lives and make them better by bringing them out, you know. And a lot of people aren't doing that, so that's awesome. One of the things I want to ask is, when it comes to consistent, because you said do it well, do it well, and do it consistently. As an entrepreneur, a lot of people that are trying to get into entrepreneurship are a lot of people that come and ask me questions, and I am no entrepreneur guru or anything like that. But a lot of times I find, and maybe you may see it differently, I find that people aren't doing it consistently. They don't know that they're good enough, or what they're doing is enough because they aren't doing it enough.
No, real talk.
How are you helping people realize like you got to keep doing it?
I mean, to sum it up, I try to let, like, you have to work. There's no shortcuts. Like, if you want it, you have to keep at it, you know? Like, you have to be hungry and you have to be relentless. Like, no one is just going to serve you your dream on a silver platter. You got to go take that thing.
Can you say that one more time?
You know, no one's going to serve you your dream on a silver platter. You got to go take that thing. And taking it means I got to be consistent. You're going to have some highs and you're going to have a lot of lows. But to me, it's math. It's statistics. Like at some point it's gonna shift in your favor. It will, but you have to remain consistent so you can see that pendulum swing to the other side. And a lot of people I don't think they understand how much hard work goes into entrepreneurship. They see all the glitter and gold. It looks great on Instagram, all the pictures and the videos and the clothes and the, you know, and like that is not real. That is maybe 5% of the business, and you still have a whole 95% that is all about grit and patience and perseverance and strategy, right?
And I also think a lot of times, especially and I'm going to speak as minorities in business, or just a plethora of different realities, everybody doesn't start at the same place, you know? And because we don't all start at the same place, we all go at the speed of where we start. So, for instance, somebody may start with resources that somebody else may not start with. So then I feel like in our generation, we have people that are trying to compare themselves to an unrealistic start time. You know, like you can't compare yourself to Kim Kardashian.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because where she started was with millions, in the bank account, not necessarily with followers, but in the bank account, and she had a push versus
an access already.
Access, right?
Yep.
So there's difference from that to you starting in
yeah,
Topeka, Kansas,
right, in a small 2-bedroom home in North Miami, Florida,
right?
You know,
yeah. So how you know, and I think that's the people that and this is why I'm really excited about the things that you're doing, is teaching people that consistency. I get people that always ask, well, how do I become a better roofer? How do I become a better? It's like, you got to keep knocking on doors.
But it takes humility to do that. Do you know how many times I had to be introspective and be like, I messed up.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I need help. So I need to go read this book.
Man.
I need to go to YouTube. I need to go talk to a mentor. I need to talk to someone else in business. But I've got to, you know, if I'm going to figure this out, I need to learn things that I don't know about. And I realize a lot of people don't do that. It's just like, I don't know. And so now we just stop.
Right.
Like, who does that?
We have to pivot to find out what we don't know. And I think that's the other thing, because in entrepreneurship, it humbles you in ways that you don't think that it can humble you. You know,
I don't know nothing.
Right.
Oh my God.
And especially when you talk about how people perceive entrepreneurship versus the reality of, you know, me and my producer Vic is always talking about payroll, right? or just cash flow account, like. That shit keeps you up all night.
Do you know how many people say, like in my line of work, who are speakers, entrepreneurs who are also speakers, and online you would think they are bank rolling, like just throw the money up, right? And then they're hitting me up. Sis, it really looks like you're getting paid to speak. Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
How are you? What you been doing?
You got to send an invoice.
That part. But it's that whole process. I really had to be a student of business. Yeah. Even though I have a bachelor's in business, I'm an ongoing student when it comes to business.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just think all I need, especially in the Black community, I just need faith and passion, and the Lord is just going to provide. No, he gave you wisdom.
Yes.
He gave you a mouth to open it up and know who to talk to learn what you need to learn. Right. Closed mouths don't get fed.
That's right.
So this whole I have faith, well, the deeds part is the research.
And faith without works is dead.
It's dead.
So and them
businesses die and fizzle out.
Listen, you be bankrupt real quick for what you don't know. And I think, you know, that's the point that, like, of this podcast is, because like these conversations aren't happening. These conversations aren't being said about, okay, even as me as an entrepreneur, we're kind of coming into some years now where now people, like, we're trying to get funding, or so people are asking for, you know, and then when I started out, I didn't know. People asked for bank statements, or they asked for tax returns, or your income statement, balance sheets, things that they don't teach you this stuff, you know. Well, they do teach it to general contractors, because you got to know it to get the thing. But generally, they don't teach this stuff, you know.
Right.
And a lot of people start businesses not knowing what you need.
That was me. I didn't know anything. I just had faith.
Yeah.
And I'm passionate.
Yeah.
And I love people.
Yeah.
And me loving people was just going to keep me employed. Forever.
Yeah.
No. No, I had a lot to learn,
and I did too. And I think that the best entrepreneurs are the ones that remain students. You know, I was telling someone the other day, like I love older people. Like I love talking to like older people, because as entrepreneurs, you know, I'm 30. I know you're
oh my gosh, you're 30. That's so awesome.
But as
I'm in another decade.
Okay,
I just went into 40. No. I'm just joking. I love it. I'm here for 40. I love it.
No, 100%. But 40 isn't like old. You know, you make it seem like, you know,
not at all.
You know, you AARP in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. But, you know, talking to, like, and I mentioned this in my last episode, where, you know, as a young entrepreneur, you can be like, something will happen and you'll freak out because it's never happened to you before. And especially if you've never dealt with it before, you'll freak out and be like, oh my gosh, you know, like, I'm realizing people are sue happy now. You know, they like to sue you. And I'm like, okay, I've never been sued before. So I'm talking to older people, and they're like, it's fine. Like, don't like, or a lawyer will call me, not necessarily being sued. A lawyer will call me about something. It's like,
You're already getting
they're trying to scare you. It's fine. Just, but I think that being a student and not allowing those moments to overtake you, or just being a student and learning from those moments, make you a better entrepreneur so that you can help other people. My last podcast, I talked about wisdom comes from suffering. A lot of people don't want to suffer. They don't want to experience things, but the most powerful lessons are the most painful ones sometimes,
right. Well, they see how a diamond is produced with pressure.
That's right. That's right.
That's it, right. All day.
One of the things that I want to ask you, I just want to pivot for a minute, is being in business. And I think a lot, and we're working on a project together, but I think this is something that a lot of people don't talk about, is how is it being in business as a Black woman?
I always like to look at things from a me standpoint, not so much how other people behave, but the responsibility that I can take and own for myself. So I'll start first there. It is so important as a Black woman to show up with confidence in business. Because there's not many of us in those spaces. And so people are already quick to want to dismiss you. And it's important that you show up in those spaces, not pompous and arrogant and boastful or conceited, none of that, but own it, honey. If you say you're great at this, own that mess and show up in those spaces and let people know how great you are, how great your services are. Like, you're the best thing since sliced bread. Like, I realized I had to grow so much in my confidence that oftentimes I'm thinking it's them that's looking at me a certain way. And then I had to be honest with myself and say, wait a minute, I'm being insecure. Like, I'm showing up into this space. I'm already thinking less of myself. Right? And I'm already assuming what they're thinking about me.
Wow.
And I haven't even spoken to them yet. Keita, show up as your authentic self. And so what I'll do is, because I'm part of the Orlando Sports Commission, it's about 70 of us on the board, and maybe 7 of us are Black. And then out of that, 3 of us are Black women.
Wow.
Yeah. So but to be honest, when I initially went into those spaces, immediately I was insecure. And insecurity is fear. And if we're not careful as Black women, we can cripple ourselves by already walking into a space with so much fear and already assuming what other people are thinking about you.
So where do you think that, like, I guess a twofold question is, where did the fear, what would you say that fear came from, or that insecurity came from?
Always being marginalized, not seeing people that look like me in these high positions.
Okay.
And so if we're not there, then what's the problem? Am I the problem? Who's the problem? You start looking at yourself like, what's going on? Just not seeing many of us elevated into our rightful positions that we deserve. And so that would put so much fear inside of me when I walk into these spaces. But one thing that has helped me to do business.
My next question.
Oh, that with whoever, red, purple, green, blue, 70, 17, like let's make this money if it aligns. What helps me now is me being authentic. So let's say I'm at a networking event. There's 3 white men having a conversation. You can tell their ages range between 50 and 70 years old, right? And then here I come, probably have something bright colored on. Who knows? But I've learned, I'll walk into a situation like, hey, my name is Dr. Keita Joy from the 305.
Okay. Wow.
And they're like, but in the best way. They're like, what's that? 305? Is that Miami? What do you know?
Yeah.
And it's just a great conversation starter. Back in the day, in a networking situation like that, I wouldn't even think to do that because I would feel so ashamed of where I came from. Now I've realized that everything makes me who I am today, and who I am is great.
Yes.
Right?
I love that.
So
everything makes you who you are.
And who we are is great.
Yeah.
And so I lead with that. Like, here, all of that shows you just how much of a hard worker I am.
Yeah.
How much of a dreamer I am. How resilient I am. And so I've learned now not to shy away from any parts of who I am, to walk fully in it. And then I realized at the end of the day, no matter the race, creed, background, if you can provide solutions, they're listening.
Yeah.
People will listen to solutions.
That's true.
You know? And so I just make sure that I'm around the right people.
Absolutely.
I definitely am not desperate. I'm not thirsty out here in these business streets. So no, respect has to be reciprocated. So I'm definitely not that type of woman like, oh my gosh, I'm with someone and he's got, millions of dollars and he can help my business get here. But if I feel like you're not respecting me, valuing me, then we're good.
Yeah.
We're fine. And I think if we lead like that, we serve an abundant God.
Yeah.
We have limitless resources available to us. If it's not that
They're
particular company,
they're just a resource.
Yeah, there will
source.
be someone else.
Yeah. It's awesome to see people like you who have gone through life and experienced life and is able to give back to those that are around you. So, Dr. Joy, Dr. Keita Joy DuPont.
There you go.
Damn, Marcus.
It's all right. Trust me. Sometimes I slip up. I've been married for 15 years. It's okay.
Well, it was good having you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
People where they can find you?
Social media, let's hang out. My places to hang out are on Instagram and LinkedIn at the Dr. Keita Joy.
Spell Keita.
DrKeitaJoy.
Okay.
And then you can go to my website, successuncensored.com, and see all the different leadership trainings that I offer.
Awesome. It was a pleasure having you.
This was fun.
Yeah.
I had a good time. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. Absolutely.